Oh, do you think Hassan's gonna burn the bridge over this? You are violating the consent of someone by forcing them to do something that they don't want to do. I think this kind of ties in to the concept of like identity or the reality of your identity in terms of who you are as a person. You're essentially forcing someone to do something that they don't want to do, but almost like in an altered reality. But it's still like their identity. A lot of the AI stuff, I think that deepfakes it's part of the conversation that we're having about AI in general, like AI art,
okay.
ChatGPT, like all of these things.
Yeah.
And the concept of like identity, I think, is being pushed or threatened or challenged a lot with a lot of this AI stuff. And I think deepfakes are challenging it in a very unique way that hasn't happened before.
Never done anything like that on the stream. And we don't tolerate any sex behavior in the chat. We ban it on site. And like I've done this consistently over and over and over. Reading so much AI stuff. Deepfake music, deepfake art and everything. And I just feel so embarrassing.
I'm going to give you the objectively corrected true take on deepfakes. But I started thinking about it last night. And I was trying to think of like, why do deepfakes feel bad? Like what feels bad? And I went down this whole line of thought. The question is actually intensely interesting to me. And I feel like it all roots back into our concept of identity in a way that is way more interesting than I had initially thought. But I need somebody that I can I have to have somebody I can bounce this idea off of. Initially, I thought it was going to be pretty simple, but then I started trying to figure out more like why it felt bad. And I don't know, it went to some interesting areas. I'm not sure, but I need somebody to chat with. Usually, if I have like a moral question, usually my thing is what I'll start to do is I'll ask questions around the edges to try to figure out like what feels good or what doesn't feel good. But then if it feels confusing, I'll just start like writing like back and forth to myself to see like what I feel about things.
What is going on with you?
I'm sorry, don't mind me.
Oh, do you think Hassan's gonna burn the bridge over this?
If you were able to look at women who are not selling them.
Destiny, are you finishing the factory today or not?
Honestly, the empathy part and the crying is the most boring part, and I'm gonna spend very little, if any, time on it today because it's the most retarded, boring part to talk about. I'll say the same thing I said in the beginning. I understand why somebody would be upset. It makes sense to be upset. I just thought it was an overreaction. Apparently, that thought can't exist in your mind. I either hate the women and I think all of them are stupid for caring at all, or I think it's just as bad as and they should go and like be like completely like horribly upset about it and they should talk about it. Those are like the only two positions apparently I have. But I'll restate the position I had since the very beginning. I understand like why someone would be upset. I think it's totally fair. But like going live and saying like this is what pain looks like just seems like very, very, very dramatic to me. But I can't yeah, that's like a position I just can't have. Yeah, I don't know. Have you seen the new AI voice thing that was posted on your Reddit? Yeah, that was crazy. Wait, link that again. That was very convincing. Do you think watching deepfakes is different than fantasizing about your neighbor? It is different. Deepfake porn is shitty and it's weird seeing yourself be objectified like that. Kind of. We'll talk about it.
You could see bombings like this one going on for months.
It looks like we're starting here, so let's cut to the aerial coverage brought to you by Goodyear. Here comes the Enola Gay. It's about overhead.
Wait, is this one of the football announcer guys? I don't know the...
Hiroshima now. Gay, and he drops the payload. Let's take another look with the Toyota Instant Replay.
Looks like it only dropped one bomb, Joe. Can't expect it to do much damage.
You really can't, Troy. But what you can expect is for America to tune in to a brand new episode of The Simpsons, followed by a new Family Guy, only on Fox. And that was a massive explosion, Troy. Let's hear from Aaron Andrews down in downtown Hiroshima. Aaron, looks like we're having some technical issues with the headset. We'll be right back after these messages from our...
Wait, link mine. They're actually insane.
It was a dark and stormy night when Lisa's world would never get to...
I know that a lot of people want to catch them all, but my job is a much bigger challenge. It is my goal to masturbate to all 1,008 Pokemon, plain and simple. I usually try to do it twice a day, regardless of the difficulties. At the end, I always win. I go on places like DeviantArt, Rule 34, and occasionally a 621 in order to achieve this massive goal. And when I finally do, I will become a Pokemon master. Sometimes it is easy. I can come in 5 minutes looking at Gardevoir or Lopunny pornos. Sometimes I come across major challenges that I have to overcome. in the case of Garbodor and Magikarp especially,
This one isn't as good.
thinking about the actual fish itself. It is very hard, but the satisfaction you get when you achieve victory is immense.
I'm almost permaban. I'm almost at the permaban point for this. Stop trying to meta engage with me. Don't do this. I understand what you're saying, but you have to understand how it come off. Don't try to think like this sounds bad to other people. You guys need to start learning to give your own opinions on things. We're moving off of like the meta. Like, you can't do this because it looks bad. If it looks bad to you, say it looks bad to you. Or if you don't like a thing, say you don't like a thing. But you all gotta stop doing this thing. We're like, oh, I think this looks bad to other people. No one cares, okay? Stop with the meta weird optic shit. Stop doing that. Say, I don't like this. Now, I don't think other people like it. I don't know what it is in my brain, but the first statement is totally fine. I don't like a thing. Cool, that's fine. But the like, I don't think other people like the thing. It like feels like a million times more pretentiously retarded.
And it's honestly way scarier than AI art. The quality of these replications, I'm not sure if you can find out if something like this is AI through the file type, but
look, this is good. Look at the inflections are there, right? This is pretty good. I don't even know if this is the one on my sub. This is a good deepfake.
And it's honestly...
This is shit? Okay, never mind. I guess the Vosh one where he was monotonous for 2 minutes was better.
And it's honestly way scarier than AI art. The quality of these...
Or actually, you guys would probably know what I sound like better than I do, since I kind of live in my head all the time. I don't really hear it the same way, actually. Maybe. Never mind, actually. Maybe you would know better than me. I feel like when you think about getting deep-faked, somebody deep-fakes videos of you, it feels like you are, it feels bad. I think there's like an intuition there. That feels bad. It feels wrong. It feels not good. But when you try to reach for the why, like, why does that feel bad? I feel like it's hard to come up with a precise answer because it's not actually a picture of you. It's a picture of somebody like masquerading as you. Your face is on it, I guess. Initially, I tried to think about like what if somebody just like drew your face on a character? Like, does that feel bad? Kind of a little bit, but it's something about it that feels different. So I started jotting down questions because I try to figure, can you make the best case for banning deepfakes legally? I don't know. I don't actually care about the legal thing. I don't care about any of that actually. I'm just curious why it makes us feel bad. That was kind of the thing that I was interested on. So I wrote down a couple questions and I try to guess like how kind of most people will feel about it. So I can see where the intuitions are to try to figure out like where, like what is the bad thing about deepfakes? Like what is the part about it that isn't okay or that makes us feel like particular revulsion? So I jotted down a couple questions. So like, how would we feel if somebody masturbated, like thinking about us? Like if somebody jerks off and they just like think about like, oh yeah, I like this person, I jerk off. I feel like most reasonable people, like 90% is probably okay. That's probably like a 90% okay thing, right? Feels a little bit weird, but like you can't control it. As long as they don't do anything, it's whatever, right? I think somebody jerking off thinking about you is whatever, right? What if somebody masturbated to a publicly available picture of you, right? So let's say they go to your Facebook, they go to your Instagram, they see like pictures of you and they start jerking off. They start jerking off to that. I feel like it's mostly okay, but I think it's a bit weirder, right? Like I feel like it's like, that's like 70% okay. Like they're publicly available pictures. There's nothing you can do about people seeing a Facebook post, Instagram post. It's public. They jerk off to it. It's whatever. Let's say somebody finds a way to get a private picture of you, but let's say that it's not explicit, right? You don't have, there's not like you can't see like your fucking boobs or your pussy or anything crazy, right? But let's say somebody finds a private picture of you and they masturbate to that private picture that they've gotten a hold of. I feel like my intuition here is that this feels significantly less okay, or even not okay. Like, let's say somebody were to find access to like, let's say hypothetically, you and your volleyball team went out and you guys took pictures for like a photo album of like your volleyball stuff, and you have like an album of that in your room, and that's just like you and like 5 or 6 other friends share it. Let's say that somebody else got access to that album and they started jerking off to pictures in it. I feel like that isn't okay. I don't think that's okay. Even if the pictures aren't explicit, even if you were playing volleyball kind of in public, if they found that album, I feel like I feel like that's pretty not okay. Let's say that somebody's taking pictures of you, right? Like with a camera, somebody's taking pictures of you. Let's say that it's in a public area, and let's say that it's an appropriate picture, like it's not taking a picture of like your or anything, right? So it's an appropriate picture. But let's say that you're like sitting on a bench in a park, and you're the focus of the picture, and somebody who's taking those pictures and jerking off to that. I think that most people would be very not okay with that. If somebody's sitting in a park and they found out somebody was taking pictures, especially of them, I don't think they'd be okay with that. I think they'd, yeah. I don't think people would be okay with that. And then let's say somebody's zooming in and finding ways to take inappropriate pictures of you, even if you were in a public place. Obviously, I think that almost 100% of people are not okay with that. No shot, right? That'd be, yeah, way over the line. I don't know if these will make sense now if I'm reading this the next day, because I kind of just like type out thoughts. It seems like there are, I changed this to 3. I thought it was 2, but then I think I kind of settled on 3. It seems like there are 3 big no-no boundaries that make a reasonable person feel uncomfortable when it comes to someone else using their image or other things. So number 1 is, if you obtain pictures without consent, where there was like a reasonable expectation of exclusivity, then I think people don't like that. So for instance, if I have like a family photo album that's like for my family and it's sitting on a shelf and somebody would find a way to take those pictures and message me, like that album's not meant for you. Or if I've got like a private album on my Facebook or private album on my Instagram just for some friends and somebody else finds out and masturbates to it, that type of thing. So if you've got an exclusive photo where you feel like somebody shouldn't have rights to it and they get rights to it and they're masturbating to it, I feel like that's not okay. That's one part. Number 2, pictures that are obtained where you are the focus without your consent or knowledge, even in a public area. Regardless of your reasonable expectation of privacy, even if you're in a public area where you expect people to be able to catch pictures of you, if somebody's focusing on you and you didn't consent to it, that's never okay. So that could be even like somebody has a stream and they like crop pictures of you from the background and they have like an album of that. I feel like people would say that's not okay. That seems to be a big no-no boundary. So if they obtain a picture of you where you're the focus without your knowledge or consent. And then the third boundary here was pictures obtained that focus on or show some explicitly vulgar action or part of the body without their consent. That's obviously, I think, like a no-go. If you take a picture and you find a way to capture somebody's boob or fucking whatever, right? That's obviously no good. So these are kind of like the 3 broad rules I think I drew up for what kind of pictures people are okay with, people aren't okay with in terms of somebody having them. So then kind of like just a little test for each of these ideas. So for the first idea, let's say someone comes across an old photo album on a flash drive you had in your bedroom. None of the photos are nude or vulgar, but they still use them to masturbate. I think that would probably seem creepy, as the photos are taken where a reasonable exclusiveness of the photo existed. I don't think if you found out that somebody came across a private photo album of you, maybe you and a friend went to like a mall and took some pictures in like one of those booths or whatever, and somebody's jerking off to that, I feel like people wouldn't be okay with that. Because those pictures weren't meant for them. There was like an exclusiveness to the photos. Number 2, a picture of you walking in the forest, even if nothing inappropriate is happening, but by someone who otherwise has no contact with your permission to do so would probably seem creepy as well. Let's say you're just walking in the forest with a couple friends, and then you find out later that somebody takes a photograph of you, of just you, and they're jerking off to that picture. Probably doesn't feel okay. Even if you're in a public area, even if it wasn't an inappropriate folder, it just seems weird that somebody's focusing on taking a picture of you because you didn't know about it, you didn't consent to it, and you're like the focus of the image. That seems weird. And then the third one would be someone zooming in and taking pictures of your body part in any setting is always going to be somebody taking creep shots on a subway, photographs under a table. Like all of this would be, I think all of this would be not okay. I kind of thought about like, what about for OnlyFans girls? And I think that these 3 rules I think these three rules actually are reinforced by how even OnlyFans girls feel about pictures getting leaked or whatever of them. So I thought about each of these three rules in relationship to an OnlyFans girl. So for number one, let's say somebody is leaking pictures from your OnlyFans albums, right? Someone could be upset with breaking rule one if it leaks because it's going to a new audience that it wasn't intended for, right? You like, this is supposed to be exclusive to people that pay for it. You're leaking it to somebody else. I don't like that, right? That's a thing. Somebody could be upset with number two if someone takes pictures of them without their consent, such as in an airport. Every time I talk to, or when I used to talk to porn star people, they would say they'd most often get recognized in airports, and people would try to take just shots of them or whatever, and that felt like really violating. And I know that our thought is like, well, what do you mean? You've already got porn out there. Why would that be violating? But it's because somebody's taking a picture of you where you're the focus and you're not consenting to it. You don't know about it. It's weird, right? And then number three is someone zooming in and taking a picture of parts of your body in any setting would be creepy. And same with three, especially the person only does certain types of porn. If somebody takes a picture of their body parts, they don't want photographed. So I think all three of these even work even for somebody doing pornography. I think that all three of these, meet a good test. I think they all meet the test, and it works for all of these, I think. So I try to apply this to deepfakes, and I think about, what about deepfakes? It kind of seems to violate number one, is you're getting access to pictures that should be exclusive, like nudes, but that's not really what's happening because you don't really see a nude picture of a person. It doesn't really make sense, right? It kind of violates number two because you're using publicly available photographs for an unintended purpose. So maybe number two, but not really. And then number three, by definition, deepfakes don't really violate number three at all because you're not actually taking nude pictures of them. You're just getting pictures of their face. So is this really satisfactory? Someone is repurposing public images of you in a way you don't like to create something you wouldn't want to see. So it seems like in terms of when I try to think about why don't people like pictures taken of themselves, it feels like deepfakes don't hit any of these three rules. It completely breaks this model down. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense using these rules why you'd be upset. It doesn't plug into any of these really well. So I kind of thought about going in a different route. Would you be okay with? So then I thought about this. Would you be okay with somebody looking at a picture of you while masturbating to porn? I think it's kind of weird, but I mean, it's as long as it's a normal picture, it is what it is. I don't know if I'd say 85% okay. I think I'd bump something it's 65% okay, right? Somebody's jerking off to fucking some porn and they got a picture of you up. I mean, it's weird, but it's probably okay. Somebody pasting your face over a naked body. I'll adjust this downwards too. Again, I think it's weird, but it's almost comical in how dumb it would be. If somebody just pasted a face and paint over somebody's naked body, I think I'd probably lower this even more. It's okay, but it's kind of weird. Okay, what about someone writing a fan fiction involving you? I felt like for this, I think that crosses the line. I think it's not okay. Somebody writing a detailed fanfic talking about how things you're doing or whatever. I don't think that would be okay. I think most people would be not okay with this. And I think it would be a little bit along the not okay scale. I'm trying to figure, so then I'm kind of trying to think it feels like there's no consistency here in terms of what's okay, what's not okay, why, when do we go over the line? Okay, I'm about to go down a very weird train of thought. Okay, so I might change my mind on this in the future, but something that I kind of think about at this point is you are violating the consent of someone by forcing them to do something that they don't want to do. So then I started to think, I think this kind of ties in to the concept of identity or the reality of your identity in terms of who you are as a person. And I think that AI and deep fakes, I think they can threaten your identity in terms of who you actually are. You're essentially forcing someone to do something that they don't want to do, but almost like in an altered reality. But it's still like their identity. So I thought about different ways to like test this idea. So what if you created a robot that perfectly resembles another person, and then you send that robot into the world to do sex acts? I think it would feel like a violation, even if you're not the robot. Here's the thing that I thought about that was an interesting test case. I don't think I wrote this down. Let's say that an OTV or an OTK, let's say a group sex orgy video releases of OTK or OTV, right? But let's say that all of the actors in those films are like spoof actors, right? Like a Brazzers video, basically. I feel like if that gets leaked, I feel like the reaction, I could be wrong, my intuition tells me the reaction would be that it would be really funny. And I think even the people involved would laugh at it. It would be funny, like parody porn. Yeah. Like people would look at it and they'd say like, oh, like this is stupid and hilarious. And look who they got to like cast as Mizkif, and like they got an Asian woman that's 6 feet tall for a little. It would just be funny. I think people would think that it's like funny, I think. And then I thought, what if you found porn videos of like famous people, but what if you actually got their twins to would that make the people feel weird or threatened? And I feel like for that, I don't think it would be a big deal either, even though it's a literal twin. Like imagine you sent a twin of yourself into the world to go and people, and then nudes got leaked of them. Even if you have the same body, does it feel bad? I don't think it would. I don't think so. Even if it's your twin, I don't think it would feel, because they're like their own person, right? So I feel like the thought that I kind of settled on, and this isn't like 100%. Yeah, I might change my mind on this. I feel like the issue that you run into is a twin or a parody actor. When they impersonate you for a sex video, there is an identity of a thing that exists, and then they're pretending to be you. And that's okay because you know that it's not you, right? The twin is not you. They look like you, they have your body, but it's not you. There's a person with an identity that's pretending to be you. And then with actors that are parody actors, it's also not you. It's like a person pretending to be you. But I feel like with a robot or with AI, I think it feels different because the thing that's assuming your identity doesn't have one before it does it. And I feel like people keep telling me this thing, what if it was misrepresented as you? No one cares. I'm not talking about public perception. I'm not talking about copyright. I'm not talking about law. I'm not talking about blah, blah, blah. I'm just, how do we feel personally about it? That's what I'm trying to hone in on right now. I don't give a f***. All the other conversation is boring as f*** to me. I don't care. Okay, go talk to lawyers if you want to sort that shit out. It's not interesting to me, okay? I'm trying to figure out, why does it feel bad? I feel like the thing that feels bad is that when a robot or an AI assumes your identity, I think it's a markedly different feeling because that thing doesn't have an identity first. And it actually feels like a copy of you that's doing things, that's making you do things that you don't want to do, I think. I think that was the feeling that I settled on. I'll just read the rest of my notes on this. So you're basically forcing someone to do something that they don't want to do, just in another reality. Test, what if you created a robot that perfectly resembles another person, send the robot into the world to do sex acts? It would feel like a violation, even though you're not the robot. Would a twin care if one did porn and the other didn't? I don't think so, because a twin isn't a copy, it's their own person, it's a separate identity. Are we more threatened by robots imitating us than by actual twins that are flesh and blood copied? I think we would be. I really think we would be. Deepfaked audio porn would probably feel just as bad as deepfaked video porn. I think it would. I think that if somebody made a deepfaked audio porn of like QT or Poki or some shit, and it was convincingly them, I think that would have the same type of like really negative reaction. Maybe not the exact same, but I think that it would carry over a lot of the uncomfortable, like not good feeling about it. You're not going to run into the issues of like comparing bodies as much and stuff, but I think that would feel really bad too. What did I write here? Robots don't have identities, so them copying you feels much more threatening to your identity. Twins or actors that are similar don't have this feature. A twin or an actor can play at your identity, but they have an identity that exists underneath. A robot is a blank slate. They can assume your identity entirely. What if somebody made a private deep fake, but they never shared it? I still think it's bad. A copied version of yourself is still doing things that you don't want to do. I feel like that's So all of these have the underlying threat to your identity, I think. Oh, I wrote this example down here later. What if an OTK OTV porn leaked where every single person was played by an actor who looked similar? I think it'd be a little creepy, but I think it'd be super funny. I think most people would laugh at it. I think OTV and OTK included would laugh at it. What if an OTK OTV deepfake porn leaked where every single person was perfectly emulated by either a robot or done via CGI? I think the reaction would be a lot different, and I think people would feel much worse about it. Which is interesting then, because then even like a robo body would make you feel worse than like actual people. And then I thought of that third example. What if they were all twins? I think even the robot thing would feel worse than the twins thing, even though they're twins. I do feel that. What if someone deepfaked you doing something you already did versus something you didn't do? It feels like if they did things I approved of, I don't think I'd care as much. But if it did things I wouldn't want to do, I would feel violated because it assumed my identity in a way an actor or twin couldn't, as they already have identities. Oh, this is something that I thought about. Let's say that like somebody deepfakes a porn video of me, like having like sex, like vanilla sex, right? And let's say I didn't care about people seeing me publicly having sex, right? If that leaked, it would be like kind of weird, but I don't think I would care because it's not a threat to my identity because I inherently or implicitly consent to those actions because I've already done them, right? I don't care if a deepfake thing like leaks of me, somebody in a way that I've already for, because I think it plays into my idea of identity, right? I've already done that. That's part of my identity. But if a deepfake video released where I was doing things that I wouldn't traditionally do, I wouldn't want to do, right? Say a deepfake video release of me like eating shit out of somebody's asshole or some crazy ultra fetish thing like that, I would feel bad because it's almost like I've been forced to do something that I don't want to do. Yeah, I don't know. I ended up on all of this. I feel like the really deep intrinsic thing is I think that deepfakes or AI stuff impersonating us, because the thing underneath that's impersonating you doesn't have an identity of its own. I think that your identity is threatened a lot more when a deepfake happens. I think that's my feeling on it. Somebody in YouTube chat said somebody said like, this is so detached from how women think about it. Yeah, the way that people think about it on the surface is probably like, oh, like their body looks better than mine and now I feel insecure. That's boring. I don't care about that shit. That's dumb. Don't care. Yeah, I don't know. I thought this was an interesting, but I'm not sure. I don't know if I feel strongly about this or not. This is just kind of like where I wound up at. The seed of objective perspective, independent identity is not exclusively in your head, but instead something that is distributed and diffused and based on a plurality of representations, including as your instantiated minds of others, then your identity is not sovereign. Most of the time, it's not threatened in a way that makes the person who is the origin of the identity feel uncomfortable. Like sovereignty of identity is an illusion, but a deepfake makes that uncomfortably transparent. I think so, Irk. I think a little bit. Yeah, true. Because your identity is not a thing that is... Hold on, now I have to think, does identity exist to an individual at all? Or do you need one other person to even have an identity? I don't even know if you can have an identity if you exist as a sole independent person with anything else. You might actually need other people to form an identity. Like an identity of yourself might be like a person that's distinct from the people around them. I'm not sure, I haven't thought about that much. But yeah, I think it's the idea that if your identity is like it's a mirror that's like shattered and there are shards of your identity held with every other person, then I think a deepfake in a way that is unique threatens to alter that identity to other people. Well, let's think about that. Let's say that a deepfake existed of me doing crazy shit, but nobody ever saw it. Would I care? I don't think so. If there was a room full of deepfakes that nobody ever looked at, I don't think that would matter. It might have to do, maybe it does have to do with that. Basically, your sharded identity that other people perceive gets changed in a way by deepfakes that is fundamentally different. Reality is worse than examples they're profiting from it. I don't care about that. Boring. I wonder if here's a question though. What if people knew it was a deepfake? Shouldn't that destroy the example then? Because somebody knows it's a deepfake. They know it's not you doing those things. So why would that threaten your identity? So let's say somebody deepfakes me doing an act that I would never want to do. and then somebody's enjoying that, but they're like downloading from a website called thesearedeepfakes.com. Why, if I know that it's a deepfake and I know that they know that it's a deepfake, why would that matter? It's because the sexual gratification is still attached to your identity like this. No, I don't believe that's that big a deal. It's like, cause somebody masturbating over like a thought, of you is way different than somebody masturbating over a deepfake of you. I think it's different. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what Brittany thinks.
I appreciated your notes on this subject. I have also been mulling over it all freaking morning. Because obviously it's like kind of, not the word contentious, but it's like everyone's very opinionated about it, which I totally understand that idea. And I wrote down notes of my own. I'm sorry, I'm like fixing our window as well while I'm talking to you.
No problem. Make sure that it works well for your YouTube video, okay?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to,
Obliterates destiny in debate about deepfakes.
Well, it's like, what is a deepfake? Do you remember that Sarah Palin porno that came out and that woman made so much money just being Sarah Palin?
Mm-hmm.
That really stands out to me, and I don't think I have a problem with that necessarily. But for some reason with the deepfakes, I have like a problem with them somehow. And I think it's mostly because someone might not know it's a deepfake, but if they're on a website for deepfakes, then it's obvious it's a deepfake, so it makes it a little bit better.
Yeah, I feel like I would toss that immediately because I feel like there is a thing where if people don't know, then it's bad, but that has nothing to do with deepfakes, and that has to do with assuming something that's there that's not. So for instance, if I release like audio of two people, even if it's not a deepfake or anything, but people are just like, oh, this is audio of two people, and it doesn't even sound like them, people still wouldn't like that for the same reason. So I think for the deepfake, even if you do know it's a deepfake, I think people still have big problems with it. So I don't know if like confusing it for the real thing even matters, because people will confuse for the real thing things that aren't deepfakes, and they don't like that for obvious reasons. And then even if you know it's a deepfake, like that guy was on a website for deepfakes, and you know it's a deepfake, there's not hardcore porn out there of Poki or Maya or anybody else, right? People still don't like that. They're not okay with that. Yeah.
Do you think they're not okay with it, period, or because he was friends with some of these people?
I think people aren't okay with it, period. People will try to obfuscate with the friend thing or whatever, which to be fair, actually on a personal level does make it weirder, but I don't think that there's any interesting to talk about there. Yeah, I mean, people are going to have a bigger problem with it because it's personal, but like the same way that like if you murder somebody that you know personally, that's like even worse, but like even murder on their own are still really bad, right? So,
I guess for me as an OnlyFans creator, I and as somebody who's been naked in public in Seattle at bike parades or nudist parades or gay parades, I categorize my nudity. And so obviously when I was at like a solstice parade in Seattle and I was naked, like I'd be in a circle with my friends and men would come, put their arm between our conversation and click a picture at my tits.
Yeah.
And my friends and I were like, why are you doing that at like a family event? Kids are here. Like this is a family nudist event. So like it's weird to sexualize nudists in this context. But some people just like cannot help it. So I think that plays into sort of how people feel icky about why people make the deepfakes in the first place. Like I am personally somebody who has never Googled a celebrity nude leak. Like I just do not want to see anything that they did not purposely put out themselves. And it feels really violating to me. And at the same time, I don't want to cast moral judgment on a curiosity that is ingrained in our DNA. Like humans are curious, we're animals, and we want to know things. And so I can't fault someone for looking at a deep fake or looking up porn of their friends or I can't really fault them for it, but I feel like I can reserve a little bit of an ick feeling that makes me concerned that we're not on the same page of how we see each other. And maybe that's how it plays into it. But I don't see, like, the Sarah Palin porn girls, like, the example my brain keeps going back to, because if she can do that, and I have no problem. If somebody mimicked me and was like, I'm Brittany Simon, and I do porn, like, that'd be kind of funny. And I would be kind of okay with it, because it's obviously not me. But I think if there was a deep fake going around, and I guess if you're not concerned about the friend thing, we can take that out of the context. I'm not quite sure I feel weird about the deep fake, but I feel like not the brand I'm trying to put out here. But then no matter how hard I work, I will never be the brand I'm trying to put out there. So it doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
I guess this is why I am this is why I'm really fixated on the identity part, because like even if it was a twin, I feel like it, because a twin theoretically has like the same body and everything. I feel like even for a twin, we would feel less bad about that than a deep fake, because a twin still is like, that's another person, it's not me or whatever. But the deep fake feels so much more insidious in how it like assumes our identity, I guess, is the feeling that I have.
There's a little bit of theft feeling coming along. I will say if my sibling did something with my image that I really didn't like, that would feel worse than a stranger. I also think it'd be worse. Like I make content for strangers, right? Like I make OnlyFans content for people who do not know me. And so the idea is that if somebody took that and transformed it as a stranger, I think they would just be some horny person who decided to use my image to do something different with it, and I'd probably care less.
True,
but if
but
it
I
was
think
like somebody
there's
I knew.
I think there is I kind of like I've written out these 3 points that I think determine like if we feel uncomfortable with people using images. So when you say that you're okay with like people who watch your OnlyFans stuff like using it in a certain way, I think that that's because you're distributing that material on OnlyFans for a particular purpose and you're okay with that. But like, let's say, I'm guessing, I don't know what your relationship with your family is like, but I'm guessing that like if you walked in and your dad had printed out like a bunch of like of your OnlyFans pictures, yeah, that would feel really weird. But
That's
but
a
if,
no-go.
Yeah, but if your dad tried to defend it, he's like, well, you put that out on OnlyFans anyway. Even if you couldn't verbalize it, the feeling I think you would have was like, well, yeah, but you're not the intended audience. That's supposed to be for my OnlyFans subscribers, and that's not you. Yeah. So
like there are definitely videos I make just for my partner that look similar to what I post on the internet, but see how they're intended for him. So if those leaked, I would feel weird.
Exactly. Yeah. So the weird thing is that like so this is a guess that I have. I'm almost positive I'd be correct here, but you could be doing hardcore fetish porn, where it's very hardcore, and you'd be okay with that being on the internet. But if you made like a personal video for like a loved one, and then that got leaked, it would feel bad. And I think a lot of people. I think a lot of people are looking at me like, why do you care? Like, you do fucking way more hardcore shit on your channel. It's like, but I intend for that. There's like, that exclusivity exists for that photo for my fans there. This is something that's supposed to be exclusive for my partner. So this feels a whole lot different. Yeah.
Like, I do not care that my OnlyFans is always leaked because, frankly, it seems to bring in more business. But also, I don't care. Like, I'm not so, weird about the money that I need every single dollar from every, like, I don't want to sue anyone who leaks my OnlyFans. I just can't care. But at the same time, if, like, a friend leaked my OnlyFans, I'd be like, whoa, you're trying to come for my bag. Like, it's different when a stranger does it. They don't care. They're just thinking, cute girl on the internet, let's take her nudes. So the intentionality behind it has got to matter. So I think, like, I don't know this part of the internet, like this, I don't know what side of the internet this guy is on. I don't even know his name. The one who was caught crying.
Atrioc,
like, I don't understand I don't understand the rules of his life. Like, I don't understand the rules of his culture. Like, what is his expectation as a husband, as a man? Like, why is he being so emotional about this?
Yeah,
but I know from my
their end has a lot more boring shit, but there's something interesting about it. On their end, it's all just has to do with like the fact that it's making like women feel uncomfortable, and he's maybe cheating on his wife by masturbating pictures of friends or whatever. Like, it's that shit. But the issues that he ran into, though, I think it would have been almost the exact same if he just had a large cache of like candid photos of like streamer people. It would have been the exact same thing. So even though we're all talking about deepfakes now, for the reason why his friends are mad and why people in the subreddit are mad at him, I don't think have anything to do actually with intrinsic to deepfakes. It just has to do with him masturbating to pictures of like friends and coworkers. I think that's what most people are fixated on.
Yeah, I think there's a part of that that's super weirdly violating. Like, I support a lot of my sex worker friends. I don't watch their porn because once I've become friends with them, it feels a little strange. Like, I'm not the audience for this. But I do give them money and I do support their work because I believe in their work. I just don't want to watch it.
Sure.
Unless it's like more, I guess, artsy than just like them coming on camera. And same, like God, one time I accidentally sent a video to my sister that was not meant for her. And like, she was like, hey sis, I think you sent me a totally wrong video. I was like, oh, me, I'm so sorry. And she's like, no, it's fine. I stopped watching it the moment I saw you make a face. I was like, that's not for me. And I was like, I'm so sorry, because we have the stupid app and anyways, and I'm waiting for the day I accidentally send my parents something, like, God forbid. But it is weird. Like, I'm so not ashamed of my sex work or anything I do until I accidentally think I've violated someone else's consent by giving it to them. And then I feel like awful because like this person didn't intend to see me naked and now they have. So I feel like it's the same on the reverse, which is like, this is what I intended to do with my body. I don't like the idea of somebody stitching it onto a body that isn't even mine. Like, I think, what's her name? I'm so sorry. Oh, the Middle Eastern girl with the curly hair. Pokimane? Is that her name?
Yeah, Pokimane, yeah.
Okay. So So her, like I heard she was one of the deepfakes. Is that correct?
Yeah, she was.
And she doesn't do any nudity on the internet, right?
Nope, nothing like that at all.
So if I was her, I think if I was someone who did not want to be sexualized at all, it would feel even worse. So my concern is like deepfakes already are uncomfortable because all these old people are always, falling for them. And they're like, oh, did you see that this happened on the internet? I'm like, I think that might have been a deepfake. My concern is that somebody might not know it's a deepfake and then act accordingly, even though. Right? So I think my concern is more like, well, what does this mean for society? But also, I think it just hurts people's feelings, which might seem basic and elementary. But I think there's something hurtful when we work so hard on our identities and who we are to have somebody misconstrue us and not see us so boldly. And at the same time, no matter how hard you work, even your closest friends and family might have a hard time seeing you. So maybe there's more radical acceptance that needs to be taught here. Maybe there's like a deeper knowing that could occur here. That is about more than just the deep fakes. It's about how do we feel about ourselves, like you said, the identity of ourselves. Do we need other people to confirm our identity?
True, but I don't think that any of that would influence how we would feel about the deep fake thing, though. I don't know if any amount of radical acceptance would change. No, because I still feel like it's somebody doing something out there with essentially you that you don't necessarily want to do. Like, even if you felt like pretty radically accepting, it's the idea that, like, maybe there's a person that, like say somebody makes like a very convincing like deepfake video of like you and Max like having sex or something, and it's and it's like, and it's like super convincing, and that it's like assumed your identity completely, and it's doing something that you would never want to do. You don't want that type of thing to exist. You wouldn't do that with yourself, but it's done anyway. I don't think any amount of like radical acceptance makes that okay.
I agree. I don't think it's okay. I think there's but if it's a stranger and they don't know me and they're doing it because they're like, oh, this would like make me money, I could just imagine someone who didn't even know who Max and I were, like creating something that they think would sell to some audience that had never even known me in context. So I can kind of understand from a business, like corrupt business perspective, how that could work for some sleazy people, but that would be their reality, like their way of surviving. But outside of that context, in order to humanize me, they'd also have to humanize like the whole industry of sex workers that I don't think people are ready to do yet. Because again, we're always curating images as content creators to push to the audience, and the audience still gets to decide who they think we are. Like, I'm always being misconstrued by the internet, but it makes sense that they would do that because they only have so many versions of me to understand against the versions of girls they know in their head. So even I'll never be truly understood. So the deepfake, I think, cannot be something that internally bothers us for the rest of humanity, since this is normal. This is going to be our new normal. It has to be something that we accept as a part of the new evolution of technology, and then we can sort of create laws around those uncomfortabilities or those like senses of agency. Like, I am a person, you can't say this. But how far does that go? Does that go to correcting everyone's false opinion of you? Like, yes, I don't want a bad video of me on the internet that completely misconstrues what I've done. But if it's fake, can I get around that somehow? I'm trying to challenge myself also, because I do have an icky feeling in my body about it, but I'm trying to be very rational about, can I rationalize my own feelings in regards to it to allow a space where this is just a part of the new reality?
Yeah, I don't know.
But that's it? You don't know?
Well, you went off in a lot of different directions there. I feel like I feel like control over identity is an important aspect of what we have or what we do. But I feel like somebody misconstruing you based on things they've heard from other people feels bad, but it's a little bit different than like a deep fake, right? Like, the difference would be like, let's say somebody's like, I think that Brittany is a Nazi because of what Max said about Brittany. Sorry, I keep using Mr. Girls Gamble, so it comes to mind. Right? It says, or my subreddit, right? I think Brittany is a Nazi because of what Destiny's subreddit said about Brittany. Whatever Jew joke you made. That feels different than somebody creating a deep fake of you saying, I think that all Jews should go vacation in Auschwitz. It feels different, right?
Well, what is the difference? Is it that people don't know it's a deep fake, or they know it's a deep fake? Because if they knew it was a deep fake, I think it'd be more relieving than someone just spreading a rumor about me, because it's obviously not me. Unless they think it's me, then it's worse, in my opinion. Like, I hate that I made that joke, because now people are so stupid, they can't figure out that it's like not serious. But now my body and my voice did say it, so I can't even say, well, it was a deep fake. You know what I'm saying? At least if it's a deep fake, I can be like, literally not me. This is scary. I'm gonna put the fear of God in everyone, knowing you're the next victim of the deep fake. Versus I was just a victim of my mouth the other day, like that, in real life. So I think there's a safety in the deep fake because you can eventually prove it's fake rather than, you know what I mean, misconstruing your identity based off of something you posted.
Yeah, I think they're fundamentally totally different things. So I'm having a hard time comparing them in my head. I understand that both in a way are like threatening your identity or the idea that people have of you. I feel like they're fundamentally different types of things.
Like, why did you even ponder the deep fake? Because I pondered it this morning only in relation to the Friends stuff, not in relation to it existing, because I know it's going to exist. It's the internet. Like, there's deep fakes of Tom Cruise everywhere. It's just a part of the new internet.
Well, I'm just curious because a lot of the AI stuff, I think that deepfakes it's part of the conversation that we're having about AI in general, like AI art, ChatGPT, like all of these things.
Yeah.
And the concept of like identity, I think, is being pushed or threatened or challenged a lot with a lot of this AI stuff. And I think deepfakes are challenging it in a very unique way that hasn't happened before.
I will say I've heard some of your talks on the art stuff, which is not my favorite area of conversation, but I also feel very indifferent to it. But I also understand why people would feel a way about it. I feel like, you know, when they mimic really amazing artists and then the fears of the identity of the artist and the legacy they left will be tarnished. I think that goes into our like desire as humans to have like a legacy, which I actually think I have less than the average person, yet I'm a YouTuber. I think I just know that people will get it wrong. So it's just a part of my fear is the law. My fear is the legality around it. What will happen to our lives if somebody does me better?
That's a whole other question too. I remember there was a time where I was either banned or I was not streaming for a while and people were watching, it wasn't a deepfake version of me. There was a VTuber streamer. You know what the VTubers are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was an AI VTuber streamer.
What? So he had your face?
No, it wasn't about me at all. Nothing to do with me. It was just a VTuber that was completely chatbot generated.
Like it wasn't a real.
It wasn't a real person. No. Yeah, it was it was a VTuber, but it was running on the ChatGPT thing, and it had like an AI voice. But it was like responding.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was responding to chat and like going back and forth and like and it wasn't. None of it was real.
So is the question how we're going to prepare for the future? How do we feel about being in the present?
Those are all fun. Yeah. All of those are fundamentally separate questions. My only question, the only thing I wanted to initially figure out was why do people feel bad about deepfakes? Because I think we have a uniquely bad feeling about deepfakes, and I was trying to get to the root of that before moving on to anything else. Because I do think we have a uniquely bad feeling about those.
Yeah. I think there's something scary about losing your place. It might feel ungrounding maybe to some people. Like I feel very grounded in my real life, so maybe I feel less worried about the internet life, but though my job is connected to it, so I feel away. But I wonder how people who aren't online working feel in relation to deepfakes. Do you think because right now I'm just hearing celebrities getting deepfaked. So do you think like regular people are going to have a different relationship? Like people who are never on the internet, like if they were deepfaked, I think that could shatter their brains.
Yeah, I think they would feel even worse about it because we have a little bit of exposure to it in the example you brought up earlier where we're kind of like used to not having as much control over our identities. But for a normal person, it would just be, it would be an identity shattering experience because they've never felt like what it's like to have other people say things and do things regarding them that they've never said or done before, like being misrepresented that way, you know?
Like I was told, because my partner knows more than I do about these things, and he was telling me that there's a girl who's dating Ludwig named QTCinderella something. Yeah, that one. She apparently is never naked on the internet, and that's why she was so upset at the idea of deepfakes, because it's like, this is not the version of me that I am okay with. And I could see how that could eat away at you if that's like if you're a really like chaste, modest Christian person or Muslim person or whatever, and that this was happening to you. I think it would feel really scary. Like I have no control in my life and I work so hard to be a good person or a modest person. And then what if my father or my brother or my mother, somebody sees this? It's like that could be horrifying. Like I think my father would be horrified if somebody was using my face to do like porn, but less horrified and more disappointed when he like realizes my OnlyFans exists, right?
Sure.
Like I think it would feel disappointing in me, but he would feel mortified for me because I think it would feel like a consent violation, but not quite rape or assault. I have a hard time equating those things a lot. So, but I've heard women say like it feels sort of like rape, and I'm like, that sort of, it's unconsensual. But
Yeah,
rape is like
I
a
think people,
really big
yeah,
deal in my head.
Yeah, people use a lot of dumb terms interchangeably. Any violation of consent gets automatically compared to like rape, or that's just the direction people go. Yeah.
Which I don't blame them. Like, a lack of consent is really crappy. But again, it's like, well, why? I feel like the why has to matter. But yeah, I feel like ultimately, at least for me, I don't know. I don't have that much of a fear over people misusing my identity because I'm a YouTuber. That happens all the time. I'm mostly concerned that they might put me in a deep fake that would like be very, like, God forbid, like anything like really breaking the law, like with minors or something. Like, that would be pretty horrific for me, and I would never want to see it. Like, I think I'd die. But I also have a personal relationship with wanting to like protect children. So I think that would be more, it's emotional, right? It doesn't feel, it's maybe not as logical, but it is personal.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's probably where I'd go with that.
So here's kind of a question. Do you think people would have the same problem with deepfakes that are doing things that aren't, that you would never do, but aren't sexual in nature?
Like doing a badass backflip or something?
Um,
Because if it was cool, then we'd be like, oh, that's awesome. I wish I could be put into an anime deepfake where I was like fighting Goku. Yeah, that'd be f***ing fire. But like, that's not the same, right? Because we don't glorify sex in this culture. Like, we think OnlyFans girls are like the bane of society. So why would we want to be associated
or what if it's
something
something
negative?
what if it's something bad that's not sexual? Like, say you like beating up a homeless person.
I think that could worry someone who's worried about getting fired from their job. Like, I could see that being impactful. I don't know if I would just be like, oh, that's like not fun. Like, I wish they had chosen something more fun. So I think
Wait,
I'd
if
be
you saw a
disappointed.
deepfake of you beating up a homeless person, that would be your thought? Oh, that's not fun?
Yeah, like, why'd you make it mean? Like, why would you do something violent? Like, I wouldn't do that. So it's like, that's weird. It's so random. Like, it's so not even a part of my personality. But if they put me in a fight against like a YouTuber, that'd be kind of funny. Because like, oh yeah, like we always joke about like, oh, I'm gonna go fight blah blah blah. So maybe that would be funny to me. But like a homeless person's just kind of sad. Like, that's just kind of sad.
Do you think does the sex thing, I wonder what makes that unique. Do you think it's because people are deriving like a visceral type of pleasure from it that makes it feel a little bit worse, or?
The consequences are far worse than most things. I think women and men both, if they were put in that situation, like, if anyone believed it for a second, if anyone wanted to judge them for a second.
I want to remove that because I don't know if that matters. Like, let's say there were no consequences whatsoever. Like, let's say we lived in a totally open porn society, whatever, like nobody gives a fuck, right? I think people would still be pretty bothered by deepfakes. No? Do you think so, or do you not think so?
I'm trying to think of why they would, if that was the case. If we're living in a really chill society, nobody cared, wouldn't it just be like another day on the internet? Wouldn't it be like a meme? Like, oh, I got turned into a deepfake today. Oh, I got turned into a meme today. I kind of like when I'm turned into memes. I think it's cute.
I think we go back to the other thing. Let's say we're in a thing where like 90% of people do porn, but personal porn of them is leaked. That still feels bad, right?
Yeah, that does feel bad because the intention was different. But the intention is different because it's like the why. So if they did a deepfake of me, but I didn't want to do it, but then I didn't do it. So if they just took my face, then it's not breaking an intention. It's creating a new intention, which is a false intention, which could still feel bad, but I think less so to someone like me because I'm used to it, again, as a YouTuber.
How do you feel about somebody writing detailed fanfics about you?
Ooh, great question. Sort of uncomfortable, sort of indifferent. So I've had some people reach out to me and say, Brittany, I wrote this thing about you. Would you like to read it? And I say, oh, no, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I don't want to know what you guys are thinking about me. I don't want to know what my OnlyFans viewers are thinking about me. I get no pleasure from knowing people think I'm pretty or hot or sexy or any of it. Like, it doesn't do anything for my brain. But if you tell me, oh, I really liked the way you put in some effort for this shoot, I might take that compliment better. But I don't derive any pleasure for some reason from someone like valuing my aesthetic, like my looks. Like, I just don't know why, but it just doesn't seem very important. But I'm not I don't think I'm much like common girls. Maybe? I feel like the internet is a war zone and you have to make your peace in it, but you also have to pick and choose your battles. And this feels like a weird battle to die on, like a hill to die on. Do you remember that? Go ahead.
There's something you have to be careful here, because have you ever heard the counter argument that someone will say, well, for abortion, like making abortion illegal is stupid because like everybody's gonna get one anyway, right?
Yeah.
Technically, that's a really shit argument because what if we felt like, for instance, like child sexual abuse? That's really hard to catch because it happens in the household. Like, should we just like make it legal since people are going to like abuse their kids anyway? Probably not. Right. We never should. Yeah. So I think that argument should be completely ejected. Because we could conceive of a thing becoming both normal and impossible to catch that we still probably would want banned. Right.
Yeah, maybe I'm having a problem with just like deep fake because again, my brain quite doesn't see a difference. And I've only seen PG deep fakes, so I've never seen porn deep fakes for the record. Because again, I'm uncomfortable like looking at people that didn't, like their image didn't, you know what I mean? It makes me feel weird. So I've never looked at it, so maybe it's a different experience I don't have the tool for. But if I just think of deep fakes, all I hear is meme. Like I hear like people take my face and they put it on a Nazi thing and they put me in a Nazi uniform, which they've done. And that doesn't represent me at all. But to them, it represents the joke that Brittany's a Nazi or the reference that Brittany's a Nazi, which I hate. But I also like, I can't do anything about it. And it's just the internet. Like, it's like, well, okay. Like that's how they view me. And so there's a version of me in everyone's head that's incorrect. So maybe it's my problem is like deep fake is too general. But what I like when you go specific and you say like, what about sexual deep fakes? Like the context is different than me being like photoshopped into a Tony Hawk music video and all of a sudden I'm doing like kick flips. Like that's badass. One of them's cool. One of them's a goal. The other one is not a goal so much.
Is there anything athletic that you can kind of do?
I mean, I grew up skating. Cara Beth Burnside, pro skater, taught me how to drop in on a half pipe. So
okay, so you can kind of.
I'm not very good at it. But
okay,
I'm
so you can kind of skate, right?
Yeah.
What if somebody deep faked you doing some activity like that, but it was markedly worse than how you could actually perform in real life? So, for instance, we went to that skating rink. What if I deep faked you skating to me, falling over and over and over and over again the entire time?
Is it funny?
Would you like it?
If it's funny, I would like it. If it's mean, I would be like, oh, that's weird.
It's not like I'm trying to make this as neutral as possible.
Yeah.
It's just like because like if it's mean, if we're like saying like fuck Brittany the loser, then obviously. But I'm trying to figure out if the thing that I'm trying to test at is like when you say that everybody has hopefully, if you're a mentally well-adjusted person, we tend to have positive views of ourselves internally. We want to see ourselves doing cool things. So when you say like, if somebody photoshopped me or somebody deepfaked me doing like a half pipe or doing some crazy shit with like Tony Hawk Pro Skater, some awesome shit like that, that would be cool. And I wonder if that's because that's congruent with you in your mind having like an idealized identity of yourself, idealized version of yourself.
Yeah.
But what if somebody deepfaked you doing something that you knew you could do, but did it worse? So it's like contradicting something you know you can do. Does that feel bad? Is it just because it's like a mean-spirited thing? Or is there a unique feeling of revulsion there because they've taken something that you know you're capable of doing and they've somehow like removed that from you? I don't know.
Yeah, I think speaking for myself, I'm pretty good with failure and fucking up. So I think I would probably find it more funny and interesting, but I also would want the intention to be clear. So again, like I have no problem with people making fun of me or me falling. Like I fall and I post my fails all the time because I'm just like, yeah, it's a part of the growing process. So Brittany, wouldn't have so much of an issue with it if the intention was more like just like for fun or something. If the intention was like, if somebody posted you like fucking up on like, what's that game you like, League, 100 times, if it's not mean-spirited, it's just kind of funny, but also it would irk you maybe, and so it's like even funnier. But for me, I think it would just be like, oh, okay, I don't know why you made that, but that's pretty funny, I guess. Like I don't know, I know when people are trying to be insulting, but sometimes they even like make it funny, so it's like even better. I don't know, I think I try to see humor in all of it, which is why I'm trying to see the humor in the deepfakes. But I'm also concerned with how and why the deepfakes are being utilized. Like I would actually be more upset on the premise of like the bag. Like you're stopping these people from getting the bag, right?
I think I'm trying to get away from the intention part because I think that part has nothing to do with the deepfake. So for instance, if I deepfaked you failing at skating and I wanted to be really mean about it, you would feel bad about that. But also if I was just like talking to my stream, I was like, oh yeah, like I went skating with Brittany, she was fucking horrible. Like even after like 10 minutes, like Melina was out skating her, like it was embarrassing. I think you would have the exact same bad feeling about it because I don't think that has to do with anything with like the deepfake. That's just somebody's trying to like be mean about you and like put out a mean message of you. I think it's
then what's the moral issue with the deepfake in it? I just can't think there would be an issue with the deepfake existing if we're okay with people spreading false rumors about people's reputation constantly on the internet. Like it doesn't seem to be a problem. We do it all the time.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what I'm not sure. It's all very confusing because it's a new thing. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Yeah, I don't know the answer. It's not like I'm not trying to like quiz you together, right? When I truly don't know.
You know what?
Yeah.
No. And I like that you're bouncing ideas off me. How do you feel? It reminds me of that Andrew Tate audio that everyone said was a deep fake. It does concern me slightly that there could be a deep fake that sounds that good. That could be a deep fake that pushes people's, because people were very sure it wasn't a deep fake, which sure, I feel very confident in saying probably not, just sounds like sexy talk, and he probably did this for work because he's a sex worker. It's fine. But at the same time, what if the deepfakes do get that good and then we don't know? And so we have to literally wait until every video, every audio is scanned. I see more of a legal issue with this than a moral one. I don't think it's necessarily wrong to curate art with someone else's image. Like, often my fans or my viewers are so sweet. They'll be like, Brittany, can I draw a picture of you? And I'm like, yeah, why are you asking? And they're like, oh, well, what if I put you in a situation you don't want to be in? I was like, oh, so what's that girl's name? Shaylin?
Yeah.
Is that her name? She did that amazing picture of all of us, which I thought was dope. Like, it was so good. Like, as all of us as dogs or whatever, and you're like, oh, you know. I was like, this is kind of hot. And I know Melina was not very happy with it. And I think she told me, like, this is not okay. But for me, I didn't see a problem with it because I thought it was funny. But I can understand how some people might be upset about it. Like, oh, this is unethical. But in my head, how could it be unethical? She's just sharing, like, she's taking our images, but it's kind of cool. Like, so I kind of, maybe that's my problem, is like, well, if it's cool, it's okay. It's like, it's okay.
It's kind of like the racist or sexist jokes are fine. As long as they're funny enough. Funny enough. The more racist and sexist, the more funny it has to be. Yeah.
Yeah, there's something about, again, I think I'm also considering intentionality. I think Shaylin's obviously, like, either joking or she doesn't take it very seriously. Like, you can't make a picture like that and be taken seriously. Like, in what world? What culture? Like, what world?
Well,
right?
She only has to be taken seriously by her boss, so.
Oh, well, that's true. So there's, like, this thing where I guess for me, I can see a lot of humor in a lot of the situations. But I don't know. I've never been deepfaked, as far as I know. And again, I only have the feelings around the violation that I have when people put me in situations I don't like. But if it's not a situation I don't like, it's probably fine. But P.S., I've never slept with anyone on OnlyFans. I never will. That's not a goal of mine. Or at least I think I never will. So if somebody videotaped me having sex, or I'm sorry, deepfaked me having sex with someone, I think that would feel violating because, like, that person doesn't have a relationship with me. That's weird. But it wouldn't feel rapey. It would just feel, like, really icky.
Sure.
So I think, like, icky is probably a better word than the way this, like, blonde girl, Cinderella, whatever her name is, was reacting on camera.
Yeah,
I just don't get why everyone's crying. Why is everyone crying? Like, why is everyone freaking out?
That's a whole other thing that has nothing to do with deepfakes, I think. That just has to do with a whole bunch of, like, really deep, like, sexual insecurity. But that's like another, that's why I'm not interested in, like, that conversation.
That story, right,
it has to do with, like, feeling violated by a friend, because it's a friend, that was weird. It has to do with, like, the insecurities people have about their bodies. Like, it's a whole other thing.
But I don't think anyone really cares about the deepfakes, because if they only care when they feel icky, then they don't care about the actual functionality of a deepfake existing. They feel about the context in which they're experiencing the deepfake.
Yeah, that's why I said earlier, this, even though it's turned into a conversation about deepfakes, kind of, I don't think anybody's actually talking about the deepfakes. Nobody actually cares about the concept or the philosophy or anything behind it. It's just because it was a friend that was jerking off to, like, pictures that make somebody feel bad, basically. I think is what it came down to, yeah.
I could be wrong, but the good way this technology is being used, wasn't Bruce Willis recently deepfaked in a movie or commercial because he has that illness where he can't talk anymore?
I don't know.
And I thought that was really cool, if I remember the story correctly, where I was like, oh, see, there's, like, good things for deepfakes to come in to help people still sell their image. Or I think, wasn't there a movie star or something who sold his rights for his image into the future even after he dies?
I have no idea.
And then they can fund their family. So there's something positive about the way you can build,
People are saying, hold on real quick, people are saying Val Kilmer, but I don't think they deepfaked his voice for Top Gun. I'm pretty sure that was him talking. It was really difficult. I don't know why people keep saying Val Kilmer, unless they actually
Val Kilmer had throat cancer.
Yes, he's very, very, very difficult to talk. Wait, actually in Top Gun, I don't even think he did speak. Didn't he type on the thing?
Oh.
And he said, like, 2 words at the end, I think. I need to check. I don't know. I could be wrong. Yeah. Wait, hold on. Did you guys even see this movie?
I didn't see it.
Yeah, he spoke like 2. I did. Fuck you guys in the chat. What are you talking about? Yeah, I think he says, like, 2 words at the end. Like, good luck. I don't remember what he says at the end.
The kid needs Maverick.
Yeah, something like this.
That's why I fought for you.
Was this, was that AI or whatever generated? I don't know. Okay. Sorry, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think ultimately, like, just in a brainstorming way, I feel like right now I'm only seeing people upset with the context of in which the deepfake is being used. But I think I could imagine it being like a great business one day. Well, it is a business, right? Can't you go on Instagram and put your face on videos like you're hanging out with Arnold Schwarzenegger, or like you're hanging out with a friend, and then you send it. Like I've sent this thing to my parents before, like, oh look, it's me on a body that isn't mine, and we all think it's funny and cool as long as it's in the context in which we're comfortable.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, I don't have any strong thoughts to contradict you there. I don't really have anything to add.
Yeah. It is interesting, though, I suppose. There's a lot of feelings that are going into, I guess, just the context, but not the actual. Yeah, I don't think the technology is that big of a deal. I mean, it has consequences, right?
Well, wait, what do you mean the technology is not that big of a deal?
I mean, it's cool, but it's a part of us being humans and, like, building on what we know, and we're curious, so we're going to create technology that could or not end civilization, which is just a part of it's a part of humaning, right? It's just, like, very natural. So I think we're going to do that, and then we'll see how it goes. But I don't think there's a moral issue with creating the technology, just moral consequences based off how you use it, which is like anything in life, right?
Yeah, that's going to be true of every single technology, right? Like a gun doesn't kill people. People kill people with guns, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Which is, I guess the problem, right? It's so funny now that I'm moving to Europe where like there are no guns. Like I can't even process that information very well. Where I'm like, what do you mean you don't have a gun? And they're like, no, there's no guns. I'm like, why? Like it's so funny versus here. So again, it's like, it's really the thing, like how we use the thing. I'm okay with that, I guess. I really wanted to talk to you about the friendship part of it because that was more interesting to me, but that's okay if that's not where you're at. That didn't.
No, we can talk about it. That's just, I think that's a markedly different thing than the deepfake part. But yeah, I mean, that's a thing that, we can talk about. Yeah, what about it?
Well, I guess like for me, I was thinking about my male friends, and you remember how you told me like every one of your male friends would have sex with you if you offered it to them?
Yeah.
Okay, do you still believe that?
Yeah, like 95%, yeah.
Okay, I think like that idea is very interesting to me, and sometimes I don't want to know the answer.
Okay.
But I think it's because I don't mind having sex with my friends prior to me being monogamous. Because like if I'm attracted to you and you're attracted to me, sure, let's have casual sex. We like each other. Let's watch anime after and go home. But I usually only do it with friends that I'm mutually attracted to, and we agree on why we're having sex. So that way there's no like confusion. And it's always worked out really well. I've been really happy with all my choices and sexual partners. With the deep fake stuff though, if I found out my friend was like deep faking me onto a body so they could masturbate to it because they knew I wasn't into them, I think that would feel violating in a way that I can't even explain. I had a male friend once. I was really offended over this. I had a male friend once break up with my friend, and we're all friends, and he calls me and goes, we broke up, blah blah blah. And we've never had a sexual relationship. 6 years of friend, we never had sexual, and we always talked about it. I'm not into him, blah blah blah. So one day he calls me and he's like, "Hey, do you want to have sex?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, that's like off the table, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, but like I'm lonely, and I figure like you're slutty, so you wouldn't care." And I was like, "Okay, well, first of all,
okay,
I'm like the prudish girl in this group. I've had sex with less people than all of you. And second of all, like, no, I've already told you I don't want to do this." And he's like, "Yeah, but I'm sad." And I'm like, "Okay." And like I didn't know how to explain to him, like, don't you understand like what you're doing right now? You're destroying this whole friendship because you're sad. Go hire a sex worker. Why would you come to your friend and be like, have sex with me because I'm sad? That's just, I don't understand that, right? And then if he went and made a deep fake of me, like, wouldn't that be layers of consent violating to your friend that you say you care about? And that's what's hurtful.
Here's a question. What if they did it, but they just jerked off to your, we'll scale it back and see when it bothers you. Let's say they jerked off to your OnlyFans stuff. Would that still feel like a bad thing?
Yeah, I think I'd feel uncomfortable if we didn't have a sexual relationship and they were my friend. Like, I see you platonically. This is you getting around my consent when I've already said no to you for sex. And that feels weird.
What if they were jerking off to just like public pictures on like your Instagram or something? Would that feel bad?
I still think it's weird, yeah.
Okay. And then what if they jerked off just like thinking about fucking you? And let's say you knew it somehow, right? That you think that'll all still be bad?
I still think it's weird, but bad is less of the word I would use. I think it would be weird for our friendship. Like, why would you even put me on the table as a fantasy possibility? And maybe I'm a woman, so it's different. Like, I'm fully okay with accepting that men might have a very different experience with fantasy than women. But for me, like, I even now that I'm like in a relationship, everyone I used to masturbate to is like gone. Like, I don't even think about them anymore. I just think about him. Or hentai, because that's like what I like to watch. So again, maybe it's like I can't tell if it's a woman brain or not, but unless the intentionality is there, I don't like the idea of hiding it. Like if I ask my friend, "Hey, do you masturbate to me?" I want them to be honest with me, and at the same time, I refrain from asking questions I don't want answers to.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Because I want them to feel comfortable. Like, I would never ask my friends that I'm genuinely neutral to them thinking about me that way. Like, I'm neutral to all my friends thinking about me sexually unless I've explicitly asked them and they've asked me, do you want to have sex? And we're like, nope, I don't see you that way. Then it feels strange. But if they never had that conversation with me and they were just thinking about me, like, I feel like that's pretty neutral. Like, there's nothing really harmful there. There's no, like, because don't they have in the back of their head as they're masturbating after I've told them no? Don't they have my no in mind or no?
Probably not.
Okay, so that's okay then. And that's the loophole to understanding like how different brains work, because my brain doesn't work that way. My brain would only consistently hear the no. It wouldn't hear anything else, and then I'd feel really bad. So I guess, yeah, I think for me the line is considering my friend, being thoughtful about my friend, and being able to be honest with my friends. Since I'm a big transparent person, I want to be able to honestly answer my friends and have like a good relationship with them over my animal desire to masturbate, I think. Why, what about you? Does that, as a guy, like help me understand your brain in case it thinks differently than mine?
Well, for which part? Wait, do you want my answer or do you want the guy answer?
Ooh. Do you think it's radically different?
For in some cases, probably.
Can you give me the differences so we can just explore it?
Well, ask me a particular question because there's like 50.
Well, you asked me, like, if so, now I don't know how to ask it to you because you're not really like, I guess like if you were on the internet and like your friend was masturbating to you, I suppose same question back to you, like, do you care if it's your Instagram
I would never
photos?
care.
Do you care
no.
You wouldn't care, period.
No, but I think that's a normal guy answer. I don't think most guys would care at all.
Even if the girl, even if you,
even
like,
if it was a girl
you
you were fucking repulsed by, you're like, get the
Really?
fuck away from me, you disgusting, crawling on the ground gremlin. If somebody was like, that girl, she probably masturbates to you, I think the guy would still be like, yeah, I bet she does. I think that would be like, I think that would be the standard guy answer. I think he would be flattered,
that's fair.
even if she was a 1, a 0, missing a leg, an eye, it would be like, hey, yeah, I bet she does. I think that would be the standard guy answer. Yeah.
Interesting. I wonder if there is a clear difference, because I wonder if my female friends, like, I think it's the same. It's like, oh, like, I thought we understood how we saw each other, but maybe it's different. I don't know. I've never had someone admit.
There's going to be, our engagement with sex is fundamentally different on a couple different levels. And one is going to be that for men, sex is a very validating experience. Whereas for women, oftentimes it's not. It can be, but it's pretty rare that happens. So for a guy, really, anybody that wants to fuck you is in some way like validating your value as a male, even if it's an ugly woman. Like, yeah. But for a woman, like, it's easy for you to fuck at any point in time. So who the fuck cares if somebody wants to fuck you? You don't get anything from that. It's not like doing anything.
Yeah.
For it, you know. So I think
that's probably true.
Yeah, I think that big difference in how we engage with sex is probably going to play out in our attitudes towards other people masturbating towards us, I think, or masturbating thinking about us.
Yeah. I try really hard to. That's why I think I switched to hentai a long time ago. Just because I started getting like weirded out that like these were people, and I'm like, I wonder like how many kids they have or like what they're doing with their lives. And I was like, ugh, I gotta stop watching porn. So I switched to hentai basically all the time now, or just my imagination, because I started to think too much about what I was watching versus I actually prefer not knowing anything about the sex worker, so I can objectify them and put them into my fantasy. So I'm not actually fucking them. I'm not fucking Lena the Plug. I'm fucking this image of this woman that I think is beautiful. But the problem is like I do that so I can humanize her in a different way. Because if I humanized her too much, I think I'd have a hard time not seeing her work as just work. And then I'd be like, well, why am I masturbating to my person's work or my friend's work? Like, it just feels like it loses it, sort of. Maybe that's why guys convince themselves they're dating OnlyFans girls or cam models, so they can still enjoy the idea that it's not just work. Do you think that's a part of it? Because like when I think about it just being a job, it like loses its spark.
When you think about
like sex workers.
Wait, I didn't understand what you started this thought at. Why guys when they're dating OnlyFans girls, that's already like a super narrow subset that I think already removes them from like a lot of the standard like thoughts that men have, because a lot of men wouldn't date anybody working in porn or sex, right? I
mean watching, when they're watching a porn or an OnlyFans girl and they convince themselves like the fantasy is more, this girl's more really, maybe she's even dating me, maybe she's sending me things that feel like a girlfriend experience. Maybe like, do you think men need that girlfriend experience so they don't feel like it's just a job? Because when I think of it as a job, it's less sexy.
Yeah, that my brain diverges hard there. I have a really hard time paying for the only time I can think about paying for sex is when I'm thinking about paying for sex as a kink. Like paying for sex is one of the biggest turnoffs in the world to me. But if I'm thinking specifically about like I have power over you because I'm paying for you to force you to do that, that's hot, but not unlike a normal thing. So I don't know where a normal guy's brain is on that. I think it could be wrong, but I think guys might tell a lie to themselves when they're paying for sex. That even though I'm paying for it, I think she might be here because she really enjoys it. But I don't even know if that's true. I'm not sure. I'd have to think about that a bit more. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that happens in a lot of industries where people become like your friend. I was watching like Selling Sunset, and their clients literally are like their friends, but you're not friends. You're just business associates that become friends because they'll give you more business later, but then they do show up to your wedding somehow. So it's weird how work and friends overlap, and it happens in sex work. It happens with everybody. But I guess like relating it back to the deepfake once again, I feel like the technology is separate from the experience we're having with it. So on its own, it's fine. But how we're utilizing it, of course, will be the bad or good, depending on how people face it, I suppose.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So do you think that, like, if you found out Dan was like downloading all Melina's Fansly's, because Fansly's OnlyFans, and he was masturbating to it, how would you feel about that?
Let's see. I wouldn't care. That's easy because I don't give a.
Really?
Well, because my wife can other people. Why do I care if other people are masturbating to her?
What if she doesn't want Dan to see her that way?
Then that's her problem. I don't give a. That's for her to figure out.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, I mean, if he was like teasing her with it, I would obviously have an opinion about it. If he's like being aggressive about it, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think how. I'm trying to mind my deep masculine intuition for how most guys would feel. Because on one end, I want to say like a guy would feel bad if a friend was jerking off to his wife or girlfriend, but I actually don't know if that would be the case. I wonder if a guy would be flattered. Yeah.
Would they let that homie around his wife?
No. Alone, no.
That's the threat.
But if they, because like if a guy was telling another guy, he was like, God, your wife is so fucking hot, I jerk off to her. I think the guy'd be like, that's kind of weird, but yeah, she is really fucking hot. Maybe that would be like a normal guy response, but that guy's not gonna be like, you should go hang out with my wife alone, and I'm gonna walk out of the room. I don't think he would do that.
That's where the violation comes in, right? It's like, well, now I don't know if I can trust you. That's what it feels like. Like, now I don't know if I can trust you around my wife. Versus a lot of couples I know have opposite sex friends, or of course they trust their friends to go hang out because they don't see them as sexual. Like, I used to hang out with my brother-in-law all the time, and like we'd go out and get burgers and, you know, blast up rap and just like go down we would have so much fun together, but it was safe because we were in no way sexual. Like, we were in no way more than like siblings through the marriage to my sister, right? But there were people who questioned me. People were like, hey, why are you hanging out with your brother-in-law? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I've known him since he was like 15. We've known each other our whole lives.
Okay,
and they're
that's
like,
okay. Sorry.
What?
Since you were 15 is way into the fucking age. That's a way different, but it was just funny you said that. Sorry, God. Like if somebody said like I had a step sibling and like we were raised since like birth, or like they adopted them at like 1 or 2, that's like a oof. But if somebody gets adopted at 15, that's a pretty late age to be adopted into the family. Yeah.
You think?
Absolutely. Or I'm just male brained.
I'm very family oriented, so like once he
you might be, but if you you were a 15-year-old male boy, and then your family adopted a reasonably attractive like 15-year-old girl, I think you'd have hella sexual feelings about that person for a long time, maybe forever.
I think it's possible, for sure. For sure. I'm not discounting it as a possibility, and I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with it either, because they're not related and they just met each other.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about the dynamic, the threat to the relationships of, can I trust you to not hit on my brother-in-law? Can I trust you, or my husband? Can I trust you not to cross boundaries, right? Like if you, like for some reason, were ever like, especially now that I'm engaged and stuff, if you ever, for some reason, were like, hey, Brittany, so like, do you want to have sex? I'd be like, bro, I'm in a monogamous relationship. So inappropriate. Like, I feel like on principle, I'd have to end our friendship. Like, on principle. But like,
I almost hit enter on that. No, I'm just going to go.
No, stop it right now. But like, on principle, for my own marriage, like, that's not what the message I want to send to my friends, because I'm monogamous now. Blah, blah, blah. So like, I'm trying to send a very clear message. And if the person has crossed that line once, they're like, you know that like the ability to do it over and over again is there too. And then it sucks, because every time I travel for collabs, the question in the back of my partner's head will be, you know, and like being cheated on is a real fear for all of us, and so I think we're all really worried about it.
Although that introduced a whole bunch of other dumb things that I think is kind of
I know.
like what? Because never mind. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go.
No, never
Share
mind.
your intrusive thought. Share it.
No, never mind.
I'm just saying, trust is the foundation of all of these conversations.
True. But it sounds like your partner doesn't trust you there if that comes up. There are a lot of, I'm not going to name names, there are a lot of women that I can't hang out with anymore. By the way, if a person is, you can speak to this personally. If a person doesn't have a sexual relationship with me, I'm not creepy, I've never done anything weird or ever made any of it. I don't ever do any of that. People seem to think that I'm this like uncontrollable machine, and if I'm near a girl, I'm going to grab her boobs and do, but I'm not. I'm absolutely not like that. I'm very, very, very respectful. But there are a lot of women that I can't hang out with anymore since they've gotten boyfriends. And that's kind of weird to me. Yeah. But it's because in their mind, they think like, I can't trust her with him because they're going to 100%. And I was like, I feel like that says something a little bit about your partner and your relationship, but I don't know. Yeah.
I think it's how you see the world. Like my farm brother and his religious wife, like they don't have opposite sex friends. And I think it'd be really weird if they got them. But mostly because I've never met a woman who didn't try to f my brother since he was like a kid. So frankly, I understand, but I don't have that relationship. Like my partner and I have opposite sex friends. We can hang out with them alone. I think the worry though is not me, but them. Like, well, what if my male friend misunderstands the intent of me staying with them over a weekend for a collab or something, and then they think, oh, well, Brittany's flying out, Brittany's coming out, maybe we can, you know, even though she's in a relationship.
Yeah, but I mean, you just have to not do something, right?
Oh, or not be around people that I wouldn't be able to trust. I've been really lucky that.
Well, when you say not be able to trust, are you saying trust them not to hit on you or rape you?
Both. Do you remember the Lauren Southern story? Wasn't it that she let a fan fly her out to like stay at his place for an event, and then he wanted to sleep with her, and she was like,
the really early shit. Yeah.
Okay, so I thank goodness now I've had that happen too in the past. It's like it's very like men always say that, oh, like I'm not gonna hit on you, but like let me take you out, let me hang out with you as a friend, and then they always end up hitting on you, and so it's like, oh, awkward.
Oh shit! I started writing. I'm writing a whole thing for Substack on how to not be raped and how to not rape when you're with celebrities.
That's good.
Because I read so many stupid fucking things. I think that it's a very niche thing, but I read so many like Me Too stories and shit from people that like with like e-celebs and stuff, and it's like there's a very simple guide to like do these things and you won't get fucked with, or like be aware of these things or whatever. But yeah.
Are you more cautious then? Is that your vibe? Like you're just more sight on caution?
No.
No.
No. I'll tell people to be cautious, but I don't have to worry about it because I don't think I'm rapey, because I think that I'm very respectful and considerate of other people's boundaries. I have never in my life been with a girl and thought like, okay, I have to be careful so I don't get Me Too'd, or I need to be like careful because it's a fan and they might say I'm raping them. Never thought about that in my entire fucking life. I just don't do things that I think other people are uncomfortable with, and I try to think of other people's comfort when I'm with that person. That's just a thing I think about, and then that works for almost 100% of situations.
Is that because you're considerate?
Yeah. Well, and also, yeah, because like I just don't think I would have fun with a person if I thought that I had to like force them to do something. That's just not.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because at that point, it's the same thing as like paying for sex, right? At that point, I'll just pay for an escort. I feel like to rape somebody. I was like, pay for it. Right. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that I think is like the disconnect that's happening in all these conversations, where that one line is so gray that it's hard for people to know when they've crossed it. And I think your consideration as a human allows you to pause and consider, quite literally. And so maybe that's the defining difference between other people, because honestly, my trip to Miami was dope, and everyone was so considerate and nice to me, and everybody was really great about boundaries. And I think that was really great. Like there was not one part of that trip that I thought went badly, but I have been in group situations with YouTubers before where they're, you get to their house and then it's like, hey, do you want to have sex? And I go, yeah, that'd be great. And they go, but we have to do it drunk. And I'm like, ooh, see, now I'm worried that either I'm too ugly to fuck sober, or you are going to like call me too after we have sex. Because I've had women do that to me. Like the first girl I ever went down on, like totally Me Too'd me before Me Too. And it was horrifyingly devastating for my first time because I thought we had a great time. And then a year later, she took it back and she had accused like a whole bunch of people. Sexually repressed people are scary to me because they have sex and then they regret it. And so that like really worries me now in my 30s. I would never. But again, what is that? That line between your brain, Steven's brain, and the brain of the average. And why do you think they fall into that pit hole of being put in compromising situations? Like, do they not have the consideration? I
think that this has actually nothing to do with sex at all. I think that in general, I think a lot of people are just really inconsiderate, just in general.
Yeah.
Like I find that like when I'm in public areas with people, like I usually have to pull them aside because they're like standing in front of like a walking crowd or standing in front of a door, or there's like, I think a lot of people are just very much kind of lost in their own heads and they're not really thinking about anybody else around them. And then that carries over into a sexual environment, basically. I think that's kind of what happens.
Yeah. No, I think you might be right on that point because I feel like I'm a really considerate person, but I also use like negotiation as a way to be extra considerate. Like, hey, do you want to discuss this? What do you think? Do you find me attractive? Do I find you attractive? Would you like to see if we are compatible sexually? I'd love to do that with you. I think you're really hot. Especially since I flirt with everyone naturally, like breathing. I don't always mean it to go in that direction, but I'm always open to having the discussion as long as it's respected no matter the answer.
Or we're open. Careful.
Wait. Wait, what? We're open.
You were open to having that discussion.
Oh, we're open. Yeah,
Because-
sorry, we're open. Sorry, yes, engaged, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's so interesting being monogamous. Like, I've only done it twice or once in my life, in my 20s. And so it's different doing it again. But yes, I have caveat, I am now monogamous.
Nice.
Caveat. I know it's a lot. But, okay, so in that is because I want to be considerate of our lifestyle and our time. That's really why we're monogamous. It's like the time it would take to do things with other people. I don't have it right now. It's not going to happen. Plus, I do want to spend my life with this human and do life with them. So, but like, see, that's why I would feel so upset if his female friends were like, I took a picture of your man and I like masturbate to him every night. I'd be like, I'm going to pull your hair out, girl. Why are you masturbating to my man like that? Like, why are you telling me? Maybe it's that. I don't care if you do it, but why are you telling me? Maybe it's that. Like, I want them to respect the relationship or the relationship I want to have with them. Like, I appreciate that my friends who I'm not sexually attracted to don't look at my OnlyFans. That means a lot to me.
Gotcha.
But if I'm sexually attracted to you, like, please check out my OnlyFans.
Nice.
Yeah, because I don't mind that so much, which is why I didn't mind, like, if you looked at my OnlyFans. Because, like, I do find you attractive, obviously.
Thanks.
And so that was safe. That felt safe, and I didn't feel like I was violating your consent by asking you to look at me naked.
Okay.
But I wouldn't want to put that pressure on somebody else who, like, Brittany, I really don't want to see you naked. I'm like, you have to see me naked. You know, it's just like, it's weird.
True.
Okay, so is this like a consent conversation in the end? Whether, you know what I mean? Whether it's about our image or our brand or our likeness or...
A little bit. I think I said before, it's a lot of different conversations depending on what you're talking about. The streamer stuff, I don't think has anything to do with any of the consent stuff or any of the deepfake stuff. It just had to do with like masturbating to friends is weird or creepy or whatever, basically. Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to think. I think that was all my notes I had written down. Did you have anything else floating around in your noggin?
About this, probably not. I'm gonna have more thoughts later, but yeah, I don't know.
Okay, yeah, same. I'm curious how people will react to it. Okay, well, thank you for your time. I really, really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, Brittany. What do you have coming up? Anything fun that people need to know about?
I just talked to Kidology. Have you ever talked to Z?
No, I want to. I tried tweeting at her once and then she didn't respond, so fuck
Oh
her.
my god, she wants to talk to you. She's just really shy. I had to reach out to her. Apparently, she's so sweet. She's just like a really shy person, so like reach out for sure, or I'll even like, I would love to set up a panel. Actually, I was just thinking we should do a panel about identity. Like, because we're all so distinctly different and yet we are all in the same space, and I wonder about that sometimes. Like, this is my favorite YouTube crowd so far that I've ever interacted with. Like, I like it so much better than the leftists or the conservatives. Like, it seems like, yeah, everyone seems very open-minded in this group, like Abba and you and Kyla and Kidology. So it's much better of a discourse. But I would love to get us all on a panel or something. I feel kind of intimidated by panels, but I think I'd feel comfy in that one. But yeah, reach out to her. She's so great. So we just had a conversation. It'll be up in a couple days. My editor's gonna post it. But yeah, other than that, just doing collabs, chilling, getting ready to move to Europe.
Gotcha.
So yeah, pretty exciting stuff over here. But no, everything is good. I'm sad I probably won't be able to see you before I leave, and I hope Melina's stuff gets figured out so you guys can come visit.
Yeah, hopefully someday it will.
Yeah, I know. That'd be so lovely though. And then especially if you go to the UK for Pearl or whatever. P.S. I know I was really mean to her, but like when you see her, tell her like I don't hate her, okay? Like she should definitely talk to me. I'm just kidding, but like kind of not really. I was so mean, but only because she called women whales. Okay, Steven? She went
She's
mean
like
on other girls.
she is the ultimate pick-me. Like
I know.
yeah. Dude,
But
when
I'm
I was
sorry.
at Sneakos, dude, she did that whales joke like 15 times. Holy shit.
I don't get why average people, including myself, we do not have a right to call people ugly. Like, I think that is so, like, blind. And then her fans were making fun of how I look, and they're like, you're ugly. And I was like, I know, we're all ugly. That's my point. Like, that's literally my point. Anyways, all right. Love you. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, have fun, be careful, stay safe.
All right, bye.
Bye.